everyone. This is the Fanalysis show, brought to you by Fanalytics. It's me, Sharon, here with Matt and JC, and we're going to run through everything about our FPL season last season, where there was some highs, some lows, and then some victories for some people.
Just the one victory, wasn't
Yeah, just one person.
it?
Two if you count both leagues.
Yeah, if you go about the leagues, we'll consider the main league first. So I guess let's wrap. How did everyone's seasons go?
Well, mine was a lot better than the last couple of years. For whatever reason, the COVID years where there's postponements and like multiple like double game weeks and stuff like that, it was too thick and fast. I cannot stay on top of my team like that.
Yeah, that was a difficult last season. I remember, Framer was complaining mid-season.
Yeah, like I work best when I know the schedule, when I know what's happening, and then I can plan around that. And that's why this season was it December and January when there was a lot of postponements.
Yeah.
Yep.
My form dovetailed slightly.
Yeah, I think like when you take into account COVID, where last year, the season before, there were just chunks where FPL wasn't the thing. But in this season, the games are still going on, and some games were delayed. Some games we thought were gonna be cancelled weren't cancelled. Some games were just cancelled randomly. It was really hard to plan long term. Like not even long, maybe like 5, 6, 7 weeks ahead. Like I think the players that really benefit from this season were those that kind of only took like the shorter term look. I feel like 2 to 3 weeks, take as you go, take your free transfer, use your chips when it necessitates, not necessarily when it's optimal, I guess.
Yeah,
especially in my case.
Thinking in hindsight, I mean, I used mine in game week 16, which was, I think, the beginning or middle of December. If I had held that out just for a couple more weeks, it might have worked in my favor with the COVID stuff.
It was quite sudden, to be fair. Like compared to the season where it was a bit more planned with the COVID, you knew beforehand it's going to affect the fixtures. Last season, a drop of a fixture.
Yeah, JC's right in terms of you didn't know whether the whole game was going to be postponed or whether it was just going to be a player or two missing. Like I reckon there was weeks where you hear, oh, X and X has got COVID, crap, take him out of the team, and then suddenly the game's off, and it's like, oh, I didn't need to be that hasty, taking him out of the team kind of thing. So yeah, I think that was difficult at that time of the season.
I also thought it was maybe the rise of Twitter and FPL in all kind of social media. I definitely saw kind of maybe because of COVID, people who had time off, they were using the stats more. I definitely saw a rise maybe near the end of last season.
It's definitely been growing. Cause was it last season where there was a few times where players were transferring players out of their own FPL teams, and it was quite big news because obviously teams were getting heads up on what lineups were going to be ahead of time.
Yeah, there's even sports commentators. I think I forgot his name, but he kept tweeting out how much he hates FPL. He kept tweeting out, "Oh, look, Salah didn't do captain points. Oh, what a shame, FPL." That's how you know that game, a small mini game, just for the nerds of football community, have now risen to the prominence.
It has, because I know in American football, fantasy is a massive part of that, and there is a huge subset of people that absolutely despise it for because whenever some people talk about it, all they can talk about is their fantasy team. That's all they're interested in, and some people just love the game. But
I think I find it funny when so I just started a new job kind of just before the season started, and one of the first things they invited me to in the new place was the FPL Fantasy League. It's like forget the team invite. It's literally, do you like football? Yes. Do you like FPL? Yes. Join our league. And that's when think it's kind of interesting how it's kind of taken over all aspects of like various people's lives and like different aspects.
Slight tangent on that. If someone in your work FPL league leaves the company, should the winner be the next person? I need to know.
No.
Ah.
No.
Oh my god.
I reckon it should be because they've left the company, they've left the league. They should leave the league as well.
Winning by default is not really winning. Just remember that.
So Liverpool's COVID season win. Can we say that's a?
They didn't win it by default. They won it. That is incredibly harsh. It seemed that. I mean, they went. They didn't lose a game until February that year.
Mhm.
I think they earned that. I think they earned that one.
Beg to differ.
Right. Shall we start and go back in time to our week 1 teams?
Yeah.
So I want to hear about some of the great decisions or great ideas that we had ahead of the season.
Yeah. I think from what I remember from game week 1, there was a couple of injuries, like key injuries that kind of enabled some players.
Yeah, there's always like players that aren't fit, especially because there was the Euros. So there's a few players that weren't match fit, so you always get that at the start of the season. It's kind of annoying.
I think
But
Robertson was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Robertson was the biggest one I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, Simicas.
Yeah.
Simicas.
4 million wonder kid. An easy 2
And
clean sheets.
I never took advantage of it because I refuse to like play it like that. I'm just like, right, look, these guys, they might not be match fit for like week 1, but they'll be playing by like the end of August. If they need to be in my team, I'll be getting in my team. I'll take a couple of blanks.
Was it worth it? Now you know what you know.
Well, I always start slowly, so
Yeah, but now we know why.
yeah.
Looking
That's
at
why.
his scores, he got like 6 and 11 points in 2 weeks. Timoscas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got 2 clean sheets and an assist, I think.
Yeah,
Was
2
it-
clean sheets and then last.
He definitely got an assist, yeah.
Yeah, he got assists as well.
Yeah. So he kind of allowed teams to kind of bring in those a couple of extra hitters. So
See, that's
not-
another problem with that. As great as it is, bringing in this £4 million like superstar that's going to get you a bunch of points. In a few weeks' time, when Robertson's back and you got to transfer him out of the team, who the hell are you going to bring in at 4 million? It means you got to make at least 1 or 2 other, adjustments to your team.
That's true. But I think if you have time to plan it, like I think it was known that Robertson's going to be out for, I think it was a month or at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So you can sort of, if you plan pre ahead, Tim says kind of nice points. Liverpool have good defense. I think they had decent fixtures. Fixtures. Norwich and Burnley, quite good. Norwich especially, right?
This doesn't get much better than that. 2 teams that went down.
You want to go with your first 11, Matt?
Yeah, I'll start with mine. So I had Sanchez in goal from Brighton. Because what was he? He was 4.5, I think, at the start of the season. And that's always my thing. 2 4.5 keepers. And I rotate them. I had Van Dijk. I did have a 4 million player, funny. I've had that Amati of Leicester. Because I knew he was going to be starting. So I went with him. And he got me a clean sheet, to be fair.
That's pretty decent.
So it wasn't too bad. I had Mings, Cresswell, Salah captain, obviously, Fernandez. That was when Fernandez scored 4 goals.
3 goals, yeah, hat trick.
Oh, he scored a hat trick, and I think he got an assist maybe as well. Something like that. I had Bailey of Villa, who never got going.
Yep.
Suchek, who actually had a good week 1 looking at it, but he didn't have the season he had last year.
No.
Yeah.
He scored a lot of goals last year. He was quite quiet this year. Danny Ings and Chris Wood.
No, really, Chris Wood.
Yeah. And then
You started off with Chris Wood.
Yeah.
He's a false prophet if I've seen one.
Yeah.
I had
for sure.
3 Brentford players on the bench,
Which
and
ones?
that's really not. I had Raya from the beginning, and he was very good. But I left him on the bench when he was getting all these points. I had Tony and Bumo as well,
Oh, nice.
and that was a mistake because Brentford beat Arsenal on the opening day.
You
They all got really good points. I thought, oh no way, they're beating Arsenal. Not week one.
I think they're interesting. Like, it's a pretty decent team. But let's say, hindsight is a bitch. But the first person that I would like probably criticize is probably Mings. Aston Villa was a bit mid-table, kind of. You don't know what the defense record is. I guess he's got the potential scorers, but I don't remember him scoring that much.
No, I don't really know what I was thinking there.
Are you
to
just
be honest,
Southgate in disguise?
Because I did have Diaz of Man City, but I benched him because they played Tottenham, which actually was a decent shout because they didn't keep a clean sheet. But yeah, Mings was a mistake.
You want to go through your team, JC? Your first game week?
Yeah, sure. Similar to Matt, had Sanchez in goal. Similar kind of mentality towards goalkeepers, especially at the start of the season. Don't want to waste your transfers and goalkeepers early on. So yeah, Sanchez in goal. In defence, Trent, Schmikas, and then Marty as well. I also had.
You had two 4 million defenders.
So I had 2 4 million defenders, which kind of gave me enough space to kind of fit in Son in my midfield. And I think one of the things he did score, but it was a very lucky goal. From what I remember, it was a very lucky
game. I mean, I think they had literally one shot.
Yeah,
in that game and won the game.
But for some reason, Spurs always do quite well.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Some teams just have other teams' numbers. Spurs have had a really good record against City, dating back to Pochettino and stuff.
Yeah,
don't know why.
They've got a good team for it. To be fair, that transitional team.
That counter attacking.
Get them on the break, yeah, and that's exactly how that goal went. And then I was just I got my something. And was very lucky, but it kind of allowed me to have Son in, and I like Son and Kane. I think historically in my teams I've always had both of them in large portions of the season because they're just so consistent. You're eventually going to get points.
Yeah.
So that's Son. Rafinha. I mean, he had quite a bad week one, only scoring 1 point, but he had a bunch of chances missed. Yeah, he got going later in the season. I think this was when Leeds, I don't know, they just didn't feel like the same team as last year. I don't know what happened, but
no, I mean certainly not defensively. I mean they leaked goals, but Rafinha, he did get going pretty quick. Because I think I had him in the first half of the season. He was getting me a lot of points.
And he's a fun player to watch. Sometimes
I'll
add a player in. I know maybe he might not get points, but I want to watch him for the points.
Yeah, do you know what? That's it. That's 100% it. He's so fun to play. He's so magical.
To be fair as well, he did seem a player that if Leeds were going to score, there's a good chance he's going to be involved in some way.
Exactly. Yeah. So Rafinha and then Salah and Fernandez. Finishing off the midfield, that's obvious. And then up front, I had Tony, Antonio, and Ings. Tony, to be honest, I didn't really watch a lot of championship football when they got promoted, but all I heard was the statistics, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'll give it a try, I'll give it a shot. Let's see if he done good. And I think
he was record top scorer as well, so
it's
a good shout.
Well, until Mitrovic.
But that was this season, right? That was just
yeah.
So I think Tony kind of got off to a slow start, I feel, but I think in terms of a Premier League player, I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, he's had a really good season. I don't think it necessarily translated to FPL all the time. His influence for Brentford was much greater than FPL points would suggest.
Yeah,
because I'm not sure how many goals he did finish on It was
8 or 10. 8.
yeah. I think it was less than 10, and a lot of it was penalties.
Yeah.
But he did get a few assists as well. But he was very important for them.
12 goals.
He finished
5
off with
assists.
12 goals, 5 assists.
I like that front three you had, because I know Antonio for West Ham had a very good week one, because I didn't have him, and I remember that. And Ings started the season well. I don't know what happened to him after like November, but
I think it was injuries.
Injuries, yeah.
Injuries, yeah. But he scores goals wherever he is, Danny Ings. I do like him.
He's his typical number 9, right?
Yeah, and I think he's found his sort of ceiling. I think we all know what kind of player he is, and be a very good player for like those mid-table sides.
He also had a good game against Watford
Yeah.
as well. Like, I think Aston Villa had a good set of fixtures coming off the start of the season, and I think that's what I'd put a heavy emphasis on.
There was a lot of hype around Villa, full stop. You know, even though they sold Grealish, they spent a bunch of it on some really like exciting players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like
Buendia
and Bailey, whatever. Coming from Leverkusen, I had a lot of hope in him. I thought he was gonna be ridiculous, but he just never got going.
It's hard with transfers from overseas. How
Yeah.
you acclimatize to the Premier League? Like, not everyone can be like Luis Diaz, who just rips it up from game week 1.
Yeah. He just, and it's normally Bundesliga's not too bad. Normally it does kind of translate, but then Sancho as well took a while to get going. Though I do think he got going.
Yeah,
I know.
Bad Man United team.
Yeah, I know
sure.
it doesn't necessarily show, but I think he got a lot more comfortable as the season wore on.
That's cool. In terms of my team, it was quite similar to you guys. Sanchez, like the Brighton keeper. You think Brighton have a good defense? I actually stuck with him. I think I counted that. I stuck with him for like 30 weeks. Even with like Ramsdale and all these other keepers like Raya doing way better than him. So that was a bit slight point. I had Trent, Shaw, and Timiskas as my defense 3. Shaw, I'm not sure why I put Shaw in. Their Leeds, I guess, wasn't too bad of a shout.
Well, you got a clean sheet. Oh no, Leeds.
No,
actually scored. Yeah,
they scored.
Don't think Man United kept a clean sheet maybe just once in the first 6 weeks, I think, against Wolves. No need to laugh, Matt. No need to laugh.
Precursor.
And just about that game, that was a very lucky clean sheet as well, because I had a bunch of Wolves players in, and Adama Traore hitting the post from literally 2 inches away from De Gea's hand broke my heart. But that's okay. Anyway, carry on.
I had Ben Rama. I think that was the big one for me that game week.
I think it was that West Ham game. I think they were playing Newcastle.
Yeah. And
it was a roller coaster because I had Cresswell and Souček, who got like 7 and 8 points respectively. So I was gaining out of it, but then Antonio would go and score a goal.
Yeah.
And it just negated all of my gains.
Yeah, it's basically Antonio got a goal and 2 assists.
But
I got a goal and assist.
That was honestly probably as good as it got for Antonio this season.
A very good first few weeks. He scored what?
He started the season well, but did he score in the second half of the season at all? I know there was a massive period of about 3 months where he didn't find the net.
Yeah, he scored against Norwich in the last day of the season.
Well, there you go.
And then he scored against
you might have scored against Norwich, to be fair.
I don't think so. Let's put some respect on Antonio's name. So yeah, I had Ben Rama. He was the big probably differentiator that week for me. Salah captain, Fernandez. He was in everyone's team. I had good old Mason Greenwood, Tony, Ings, and Antonio. The same front 3 as JC.
Yeah, so I think the one thing that stood out from your team, Sharon, is Ben Rama in midfield, because I seem to remember a lot of hype around Benrahma, around like the FPL Twitter sphere.
Yeah.
Obviously, Matt just said there was a lot of hype with Aston Villa in general, and kind of I think he got off to like a fantastic start, didn't he? Like I think he must have got double-digit scores in at least the first 2 game weeks or something like that, right?
He did have a bunch of those weeks, yeah.
He's a very streaky player. Like,
Yeah.
He'll either score like goal and assist, or he'll do nothing at all. But yeah, you're right. He was literally, I think the only reason my first few weeks I was in the top, maybe I think was it 30k or 20k in the first 5 weeks, and that was pretty much all Benrahma was doing really, which is strange because in Twitter sphere a lot of people had him, so I guess the general public is still outweighs it on the kind of data scale. But yeah, it was really good few weeks for me. I thought I was actually going to win it at one point. I was like, this is my
what the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
That's how egotistical.
Gotta love the confidence. Gotta love it.
So I literally got to, I think, 18,000 in game week 3, and that was like, okay, maybe I'm in it now. And then slowly, means to regression, I went down to like 300,000 in game week 10. And never recovered.
That's what you want though. Like you want a good solid start. You want to be there or thereabouts. Like I think there's nothing worse than like getting off to a really bad start in your first week and then all of a sudden climb up the points.
I'm the opposite. I literally I've come to the conclusion I don't care about the first month. I always had this slow start. Honestly, like in our league, I'm like in like 6th or 7th after like the first month. I don't care. I'm like my team will grow into the season. I don't worry about it. I start hitting my stride around November. That's when I start going.
They'll grow into the men their dream to be.
Yeah.
Destined to be.
So I guess after that, best bit to go into next is when we used our first wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what were your guys' strategies on that then?
Pre-season or during the season?
Well, I guess what your plan was for the first, because I think you always have an idea at the back of your mind when about you want to do it.
Yeah.
Did that change, or why did it change? Or
I think for me is whenever I start. Well, the overall aim for my wild card is like leave it as late as I can. Like if I get to as close to the halfway point as I can before you need to use it, best for me. Like I'll have to take a couple of bad weeks. I think in this case, like as we discussed at the beginning, like I think COVID just hit, right? Like games were being cancelled. Players that you thought were going to do good probably weren't doing as good. In my case, that was like just looking over my team before I used my wildcard one. I had Gray, Woods, Edouard from Crystal Palace, and Amati. Fernandez just wasn't scoring any points. And I think just looking at my team's points before that, I was kind of like not even hitting the million game week rank, like 3 million, 1.2 million. Yeah. I think those are like massive red flags for me. That's like, this team is clearly no good. I need to change it. I need to bring in like the informed players, the players that might have better fixtures. And that's kind of roughly how I go about my wild card. So I use mines in game week 10, which is probably a bit earlier than I would have liked. Maybe 12, 13 is ideal for me.
Did they have
or even later than
effect?
I'm trying to look at my game week 10. So no, so I actually got 45 points after my game week wild card. I think I put one, for some reason I had 3 Brentford players in, thinking that they would get a clean sheet against Burnley, and they drew 2-2. So yeah, it didn't really have the effect I wanted, but the way I set up my wild cards is that.
Thinking about when was that? What that would have been about October, November? Because I think that is when Brentford's form started to turn a little bit. Mm-hmm. I know there's a big chunk in the middle of the season where they were not getting results at all.
Yeah.
They probably coincide. That was just unfortunate because they did get off to a really good start.
I think Raya got injured, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Rare did get injured. That was one of the annoying bits. Is that I think just after that, I really wanted to have a defensive Raya in it because he was doing so well. They were coming off like a really bad set of fixtures. So just before 10, they had Chelsea, West Ham, and Leicester, and then on week 10 they had Burnley, Norwich, and Newcastle, which is a decent set of fixtures for a defense. But because they didn't have their goalkeeper, they were just conceding goals. They were done before. It was just bad luck on their part. But,
I mean, looking through it, I mean that game week you got 45. I mean, sure, you had a good week that week. You got like 68, but a lot of us were in the 40s that week. So, in comparison to everyone else, I don't think you suffered that greatly in that week. I think that was a low game week overall.
How was the following weeks? Was the wild card at least picking up your overall rank? Would you say?
No, because I think it's mostly the defense. I think because I put a lot of money into like that Brentford in general. Like I still had Tony even after I kept Tony for a long time for some reason.
Looking at your team, I mean, Trent, Cancelo, and Chilwell after that wild card. That's a hell of a defense, but Chilwell was so annoying this season because it'd start to hit a bit of form and then he'd get injured again, and I don't think I got any good weeks out of him, and I put him in a couple of times.
Yeah,
and I just think I always picked the wrong moment,
especially because in some games he would chip in with like a goal.
Yeah.
With
that was when him and Reece James couldn't stop scoring, and Reece James as well. I missed the boat on when the optimum time to put him in. When I did put him in, he didn't do very much for me.
Reece James was funny because he was a right wing back, so him and Chilwell were basically like the strikers for Chelsea's team. And then all of a sudden he was a right centre back. And I was like, Tuchel, why?
Yeah, he did that a few times. I'm not sure why that happened, but yeah, I think a lot of people fell for the Reece James informed stuff and got very little out of it when they did put him in.
And they're both very injury prone. It's quite a shame.
Well, Chilwell especially,
yeah.
So, what about you, Sharon? When did you plan to use it, and when did you use it?
So my plan was to use it. I normally use my first wild card maybe a few weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
Sort of just try and get that kind of little spike into leading before the Christmas break, or so many double fixtures near there as well. But in this one, I did a wildcard in game week 7. Very, very, very early.
Very early,
and considering that I was actually not even doing that bad.
Flying.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like, I went to the top 40,000 and I kind of regressed to the 150,000. And for some reason I thought I'd do a game wildcard, which is crazy. And
and it's pretty crazy looking at the guys you brought in as well.
Yeah.
You had Ronaldo and Lukaku. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money
in the strike force, and strikers were just a waste of time this season.
Let's not talk about Ronaldo. That guy, I persisted with him so much, and sometimes he would save my game week, but he would just dog shit. To be fair. Honestly,
if there was an option to play a 5-5-0, I would have done it for long parts of the season. Like they were just completely worthless. Some of these strikers.
But yeah, my overall wildcard decision was really poor. It probably set me back quite a lot. I took I think Trent missed the game week beforehand. I thought maybe either COVID or injury, so I took him out for my wildcard, which is ridiculous. And then the next 5 game weeks, I think he was pulling up like double figures, maybe 3 or 4 times. My rank dropped like double. I was like 100,000.
I mean, if you're spending over 20 million on 2 strikers like you were, you cannot justify having Trent in. Like I very rarely put Trent in this season. As good as he was, I just thought there's better value out there.
He's very good
for Trent.
Just, yeah, 8 million or 8.5 million, I think it was. It got up to, but
I think if you got on him early, it was like 7.5. He started off the season with.
I think so. 7.5 sounds about right.
yeah, something like that.
Which is pretty
But
good.
I decided to go for, like, I had Diaz and Van Dijk for the start of the season. Like the first half of the season, it was those two, and then Rudiger later in the season. I went for defenders that are just going to get clean sheets. Wasn't too worried about goals or assists. Just get me a solid six like every other week, and that worked really well for me.
But if you think about these wing backs that do get goals and assists and are part of that defense, like Cancelo and Trent.
Oh, of course, like, but that's why they're priced the way they are.
Yeah, but considering like what are the options in that price range, like let's say 7.5, if you started with, what other midfielders or strikers could match them? Not very often. That's why I think I always prioritize them.
Yeah,
well,
I just went for the classic thing of I was definitely budgeting on my strikers. I don't think I think I did put Kane in a little bit later in the season, but for most of it, I really didn't bother with him. I was getting the money into the midfield. Salah, if I can fit Son in there as well. And I had Son for most of the season. And that's why, because I tried to save money on the defense where I could.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Worked okay for me.
I think for me, like it depends. Like if the two centre back, if you do want to do like you just want to go for the clean sheets, that's fine. But like you really would like to have like two, I guess, for me personally, just because if you get the clean sheet, you get double the clean sheet points.
Yeah.
Do you double up often, do you think? Like from double Liverpool or double City?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I have no issues doubling up on, sometimes even like tripling up, and sometimes even quadrupling up if I have a defender and captain. But I think it just makes the game so nervous. Like as soon as a goal is scored, like, that's it. Like you just don't care anymore.
That's why I find it difficult to double or triple up on defenders like that. I'd rather hedge my bets with, like, if I've got a Chelsea, a City, and a Liverpool defender in there, I'm like, look, two of you get me clean sheets here. If one of you nicks a goal from a set piece, then I'll be in dreamland. But
yeah,
just.
But to be clear, like you have to be really sure, like it's like a banked in clean sheet. Like if there's any hesitation, there's just probably no point.
Yeah,
depends on fixtures.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of the wild card side, I always have that same idea. If I can get as close to Christmas without having used it, and then I like to use it for that Christmas period.
Yep.
That period, late December, early January. Obviously, COVID kind of messed that up. I think I used mine. I think it was game week 16. I managed to leave it quite late.
Yeah.
I was doing well. Anyway, I'd just taken the lead in the league. And then that first week I had a very good week, but then the COVID stuff started happening. But with the wild card, I don't know what happened the last couple of years, since like 2018 maybe. I was reading some of these FPL, like, threads and FPL stuff on social media, and I got convinced that early wildcards were the way to go. Like, especially after the World Cup in 2018.
Yep.
Bunch of players that obviously weren't match fit at the start of the season. Like, and I got roped into this idea of, right, I'm going to pick a team for the first like 3-4 weeks, and then I'm going to wildcard to get in, the De Bruynes and all those guys.
Yep.
And it worked out terribly for me, because if you go for the early wildcard and you get it wrong, like, that's 4 months basically, because you can't use that second one until January.
Yeah, you have to really
just got
hope.
Yeah.
It's just not worth the risk, to be honest. In my opinion, it's just like so much can happen in between like fall and like Christmas that can, like, even your own like mentality on FBL can change at that time.
But I think the reason I did was because I said I start really slow and I don't get going until November. I was like, right, I've got to fix my start to the season. So that's why I got roped into that way of thinking. Right, early wild card, get the team right early, but yeah, it's too risky. It's much better when you wait till like November, December, in my experience.
But I'm just looking at your rank, man. Week 16, you were like 190. Week 16, that's pretty good. Like,
Yeah, I was flying around that time, and even with I still had Van Dijk and Diaz. I managed to get Cancelo in. I think that's when I first put Bowen in, and he pretty much stayed until the end of the season after that. Son as well. A lot of those guys ended up being in my team for the majority of the season.
That's probably a pivotal point, that game 16 wildcard, because I think after game 16 I got like loads of green arrows. I think maybe 7 out of 8 game weeks after.
Yeah,
I kind of rose, and I think then we kind of crossed paths again.
yeah, because I was still doing relatively okay compared to everyone else, but I just lost that momentum at the end of December, start of January.
why do you think you lost it? Like, what do you think happened after?
It's the COVID postponements. I struggled in the two, like I was saying, with the 2 years of COVID, where I just think you have to be so on it in terms of like knowing, okay, who's down, who's injured, which games are like under threat, all that stuff. And I've always preferred to sort of right after the game week, start of like the week, I get my changes done. I set my team, and that's it. And I don't like fiddling around. I don't like overthinking it. I just want to get it right. What I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then there was a few cases where I couldn't even I didn't have a full team of players that were actually playing.
That is the worst.
That's the worst. Yeah.
And I refuse to. I don't want to start taking hits. I think that's a dangerous road to go down. Because last year, sorry, that's what I did. It got to a point in the second half of the season, I was doing terribly anyway. I was like, right, I'm scrapping any long-term thinking. I'm just going to go week to week. If I have to make 5 or 6 changes, I'm going to make 5 or 6 changes. And actually sort of did okay. I sort of stabilized my team that way, in a weird way.
In terms of hits from both of you, what was your hits like previous to the season? What were your hits like this season? Because for me, I used to take hits loads of times, like probably 30 game weeks out of 38, I was taking at least a -4. I had loads of game weeks where I take -8. This game week, I was actually quite restrained. I think, only 19 game weeks, or half, I took a -4 hit, but I never took more than a -4, which is very strange for me.
That's still way too many. Like for me, like I said, the two, like the COVID year last year, especially, I did start doing that, but normally I point blank refuse to do it. It'd have to be like a desperate state where there's a bunch of like long-term injuries in my team. Not just like if it's 1 week, I'll just say, right, I'll take the sort of, slightly disappointing week, because the problem with that is you sort of double down.
Yep.
You're basically saying, okay, this player's not going to get me points, so I'm gonna take the hit of points and bank. This guy has now got to get, like, he's got to get a good score. Because if he doesn't, you've almost lost out twice.
I think I'll take a more wider approach. So sometimes I'll say, this player I think will do next, let's say, 6 game weeks.
Yeah.
Perform that game, so this -4 might be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there probably is times where it's absolutely essential you get a player into the team. But I just try and work that into my general strategy. If I get that player in, right, if I have to wait till next week, fine, but I'm gonna do it properly.
I think like in terms of like hits, right? I think the good thing about this season was that there were a lot of game weeks where teams were playing maybe 2-3 weeks of double 2 fixtures in the game week. So I think in some weeks I was okay with taking a hit. I think in previous seasons I tended to not take hits, and for a large majority of the first half, I was like, I kind of kept that same thinking. But then as soon as my team kind of goes large periods with red flags, I'm just like hit all the time.
I think there's definitely a period of the season where it becomes much more acceptable to do it. Definitely the end of the season, like you've only got like 4 or 5 weeks left. Yeah, you probably do. Because I did take a couple, and they were late in the season.
I think I remember you having a -16, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there might have been a week where I got a little bit desperate. Yeah.
How many hits did you guys take in the season? Do you know?
19. I did half.
Is there a way of seeing it on?
Just if you look at game week history and then you sort of count.
Yeah.
So I took 12 or 13 ish with
bad.
a hefty -16 in, but I managed to still get a good game week score with my triple captain Salah. The reason why I did take that 16 was because I think during that period, a lot of the cancellations were going on, as we've said. So a lot of teams had like lots of weeks of double game weeks, and I think it kind of evens itself out. But obviously, ideally, it's not the best thing to be doing.
Yeah.
But also, there are some people like in the Twitter sphere that's like, I only take like 2 hits a week. For the whole season.
There's varying opinions. I mean, a lot of the top players take quite a lot of hits. They almost take hits on a weekly. Like
looking at the number 1 guy, he took 8 hits, and he didn't take any hits. He took 1 hit in the first 19 game weeks, I think, roughly.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean,
he took some hits during COVID time, and then
that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it those sort of things could have been cancelled out with the extra free hit that we got given.
Yeah, that's true.
But
did we know that at the start of the season?
Did anyone know? It got announced. I think it was at the end of December. But did anyone actually use it during the COVID time?
No,
because I kept mine until late in the season. I used them for double game weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
that was the way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I always risk it for the double game week, then prepare like saving myself from a no team week, because I think most people might have that no team week.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
What's the next chip?
I guess we need to talk about the triple captain.
Mm-hmm.
What is your guys' thoughts on triple captain? I'm not actually. I used to be like this is the most important, no, maybe second most important chip. But now I'm thinking maybe even the least important chip.
Well, wild cards are the most important. Yeah. I definitely think that. I value the triple captain like highly.
I think it depends where you are when you use it. So, for example, if you're going off to a flying start, I feel like because you already have like a decent team, right? Maybe your wildcard means is less because naturally you'll transfer out less players.
Yeah.
I think for a triple captain, it's like that 1 week like boost, right? It's just like, I feel like this player is going to absolutely pop off. Like this could get me a whole bunch of points, and the only real benefit is that you pick a week when nobody else triple captains that one player. Because if everybody triple captains when they did, and I suspect a lot of people triple captained Salah that 1 week. Actually, I have it now. He played Norwich and Leeds, and both teams got absolutely demolished. So I maybe that means is less, but I guess similar to Matt, like I definitely value wildcard more than triple captain.
Looking at when I use triple captain, this is very, very interesting. You actually use bench boost the same week, Shiron, that I used triple captain. Mm-hmm. You outscored me by 62 points that game week. And you finished 63 ahead of me in the league. So that's the value of it. If I just kept it close in that game week, which I probably should have, I obviously triple captain Salah, but I just didn't get enough points elsewhere that week. So
triple captain with like a Salah or one of those premiums is quite hard, especially if it's
yeah,
a double game week, because the amount of points you're going to make up, because just one more captain, someone got captain double points, it's just one more captain. It's not much.
Yeah.
So yeah, triple captains probably should be used for like
differential.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably spike your rank. But normally, I normally use it on pretty much double game weeks because I'm just scared.
For sure.
Yeah. You, double game week for a premium. It's the safest way to go. Even if it's just marginal gains, like you said, in terms of just that one extra score.
Yeah.
It, in a close game week, that could be the difference.
Do you know? Do you know what's funny? Game week 1. The person who scored number 1 that week, 150 points, triple captain Salah.
Oh wow!
The first week, game week 1. Like, how crazy is that? Imagine using a triple captain in game week 1.
It's just there's a psychology. There's a psychology to it where, like, in terms of raw points, like, there's no reason why you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You that could net you more points than any other game week.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just a nailed on, like it was pretty nailed on. What, Salah versus Norwich, like, doesn't get much better than that.
We could have double
but
game week.
there's a psychology about getting late into the season in your mini league where, if you're going, for a title or something, using it at the right time, getting that bit of momentum.
I think that's a good point, because in my general chip strategy is to I like to leave all chips as late as possible, because then it gives you a bit of flex, right? Like, it gives you the options to mess about with your teams, or jump on the fact that somebody else in your mini leagues might not have had good chip usage.
It can play into your opponent's thinking as well. If you know that someone's still got a triple captain, you might take more risks. You might go for these more differential sort of shots and hope that can neutralize it, and then you end up in a worse position potentially.
That's a fair point. It definitely changes my viewpoint to how transfers go in. Matt, when did you use your triple captain?
I used it after everyone else. Mine was in game week 29, and I do remember that everyone else used it on Salah for that really easy double game week that you were talking about. And I remember afterwards I was thinking, maybe I should have. But I wanted to. I had the differential thing in my mind. I was like, no, I'm going to different week, and it didn't really work out for me.
And then you, Sharon, yours was the same week I did mine, right? It was the
good old Salah against Leeds versus Norwich. Because then I was thinking, because I like to use the whole good old strategy of wildcard and then bench boost for the double game week.
Yeah.
And I had that for game week 29, which is when Matt uses triple captain. So
yeah, I think I don't tend to use the chips really late in the season, and I don't think that's the optimum time to do it either, because I do think late in the season, that's when you start getting players rested for big Champions League games coming up, or the lineups do get a lot more unpredictable.
That's a fair point.
So it's usually between you might start in December with a couple of the chips, but between December and Marchish time, I think that's when.
Yeah, I would say March is a great time for that. And I think March, maybe just before you get into the tail end of the season, it's a good point for
There's always this 1 week of the season where I think it's probably FA Cup quarterfinals, where you still get Premier League games going on, but there'll be quite a lot that are off because of FA Cup. So that's always been a good time to use the free hit.
Yeah, and also double game weeks come out of that, because obviously your big teams get to move forward.
Yeah, so but yeah, do you know what? If you're really clever about it, and you get your team in the right shape, prepared for that game where there's going to be a few games that aren't being played, and you hold that free hit until the double, that's a hell of a move, but it's hard to do that.
Mhm.
It's hard to, and yeah, it'd be hard to field a full team without using the chip on those FA Cup ones, I think.
I also think, like, I seem to remember this season where we had quite a few blank game weeks for a lot of the teams. Sometimes it's even like the fixtures themselves weren't very good. Like, it would be, I don't know, example, Burnley v Newcastle, whatever. Those types of fixtures where you kind of don't even want to use the chip because the players don't really seem like high value, or they don't score enough points, or whatever.
There's
There was
definitely
loads of
those game weeks where people just see the double game week and they think, right, let's get all these double game week. And like, you end up people putting like 3 Burnley players in. Like, I know Weghorst. There was so many people that just like took hits just to get this guy in because he had a double game week. It's like, they don't score goals. Get one guy that's going to get like an 8-point haul rather than just putting Weghorst. He's probably just going to get 2 2-pointers, you know?
Yeah.
I guess it's the numbers thing, isn't it? Like, it's just like more games, more chances.
The premium, double game weeks, get the premium guys in.
Mm-hmm.
You sometimes get the odd single game week player that normally outscores everyone. Like,
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like the guys that do well week to week anyway, even if they've got a single game week, there's no reason to take them out or prioritize some of these doubles over it.
And in terms of free hits, because we've got 2 this year, and I hope they actually continue with this because we obviously have the Qatar World Cup coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why. I like the 2 free hits. It was quite a nice addition this year.
They should maybe do it like 1 free hit for the first half, 1 free hit for the second half. Because I think having 2 free hits,
same as wildcard.
Yeah, because having 2 free hits mid end seems a bit of a. You're gonna have a free hit, then a game week off, wildcard, boost, week off.
Yeah,
it's a bit too many chips.
But then, even if you do get it, so you're saying like the wildcard, you have to use it by, what is it, December 29th or whatever?
Yeah.
Or you only get 1. Okay, yeah. Because it'd be hard to pick the right moment in this first half of the season there. Because you don't get many double game weeks.
Yeah, so I feel like that's more of a truer free hit, more of a kind of a risky kind of like a game week 1 feel.
The connoisseurs free hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the infamous game week 1 free hit. Yeah. That sounds like a winning strategy. I think I always find, like, for me, I find the free hit difficult to use and optimize, and I don't think I've really mastered it. And I think it's really cost me in places. Like,
I think the only way I've ever used the free hit is to negate the fact that I've got a lot of players out. It always feels like an emergency thing that I'm just having to use because otherwise it's going to be an absolute flop of a week, rather than saying, hey, I'm going to use this free hit in this week. That's going to get me the most points.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's probably designed for that.
Yeah, it is. It's just a one-off. I think it was designed for those FA Cup weeks, I'm sure. But yeah, so I think in terms of lessons then from this season, what will you guys take from this season going into next season, do you reckon?
I would say for me, this season, I kind of followed the herd a little bit because of our safety. So obviously the one that I'm probably most, if I look back, is Salah, the Salah captains I did. Now obviously, in the first half of the season, he was amazing for everyone. But the second half of the season after AFCON, like even I was thinking he was dipping down. I knew he wasn't going to be the same returns, obviously, but there was definitely value at other places like Son, De Bruyne, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Couldn't bring to get that extra kind of.
I think that's where it's harder. It's harder leading in that. It's easier to be the hunter.
Yeah.
Hunted.
Because you play safety first, and that's another thing. Like in mini leagues, you want to be first in your mini league, but sometimes that stops you from if you want to go up in your overall rank because you don't want to take those risks. And I think next season I probably we'll take those risks. But we can clip this, and when I come like I don't know 3 million overall, we can say that was wrong.
Good decision, yeah.
How about you, JC?
I think just talking from you guys and like hearing your strategy on chips, I think for me is kind of being more aggressive on the chips. I would say, like, I think I made it clear that like I kind of like to sit on it a while, probably to my detriment, and not really making the optimum use of it, like using wildcards slightly earlier, or maybe using I don't know, a bench boost whenever you need to. Like, I think for me, that's where I kind of don't have the best optimal use of the chips. Yeah, just being able to like not, because it's really making the wrong decision. I think I find it's just like I don't know if this is the right time to use it, therefore I won't use it unless it's like clear. And sometimes you just need to be able to take those risks. I think that's kind of what I'm getting out of us chatting.
It's a game of poker, right?
Yeah,
I
I think mine is sort of an amalgamation of your two, where my chip play was not good this year, and pretty disappointing because outside of using my chips, I actually had a really good season.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of weeks where I topped our mini league in terms of points and all that, but I definitely overthought some of the chips. Triple captain, everyone did it on that Salah one against like Leeds and Norwich or
Norwich,
whoever it was. If it if it looks like shit and smells like shit, it probably is shit. So I should have just gone for it then rather than overthinking, go for the differential. But that's a strategy thing as well. I should have definitely thought a little more about those, because I definitely had a good season other than that, and I still stand by the things like not picking Trent. I know he had a great season, and there were times that I did pick him, but I think my overall team did benefit for a lot of the season from that.
That's fair enough. There's different ways to play it. Like,
oh yeah,
the number one guy, he started like million rank for the first 5 weeks, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how quickly you can drop. So
too quick.
Logically, it can work the other way. You can rise quickly as well with a couple of good weeks.
Yeah, differentials are probably more key next season for me. I'll be looking out for more of those. No more safety.
Yeah, next season's gonna be interesting. I mean, thinking about some of the key players from this year, what do you think they're gonna be like next season? Like, I think of someone like Jared Bowen, who was like 6.5 million, double digits for goals and assists last season. There's no way he's gonna be 6.5 again next season. He's gonna probably go up into 8, maybe 9, pushing it.
Yeah, probably 7, 8. Him like Saka. Saka's another one that has a great.
Saka's gonna. Yeah, I think Saka's still gonna be a good option next year. He'll be in that 7 to 9 range, but for those mid-range midfielders, I think he's pretty nailed on.
Yeah, he scores against big teams anyway, so
he always shows up, even when he doesn't necessarily get returns. He's always playing well, which is a good sign with FPL guys. But he's also like about as nailed on as you can get on that right hand. I mean, there's a lot of last season where I felt we should have been resting him a little more. He looked good at times, but he is crucial to Arsenal. He will play a lot.
What's your guys' opinion on if Salah gets a big rise? He's still
Salah is. I was going to mention about Salah because I don't. Maybe it's just the recency bias of the end of the season, but I don't know. Have we seen his peak in terms of what he's going to do? I don't see him being like 30 goals in the season again.
Yeah.
And towards the back end of the last season, a lot of Liverpool's play went through Diaz. I think he's going to be like the big one for Liverpool next year. And
Nunes, right?
Nunes, you never know with new signings. Diaz, we at least have some intel on.
Yep.
And he's not going to be in that Salah-like price bracket.
No,
He's
he'd be
going to
like
be
that
pretty
7
high.
million or 8 million.
Oh, no, I think he'd be more than that. I think Diaz will be up in like around 10, hover around 9 or 10.
Really?
I think so.
Because I remember Jota last season, he did quite well. And then he came this season, he was 8 million. So
He was listed as a midfielder last season, Jota?
Yeah, but I think
that's absurd.
There are rumors that they're going to do an overhaul of that. They're going to move players.
I think there needs to be an overhaul because Salah is not a midfielder.
Agreed.
And, Mane's gone now, or going, but he wasn't a midfielder either. Jota certainly wasn't a midfielder. He starts at centre forward when he plays most of the time. So I think they've got to split up midfielders somehow because it definitely affected attacking options. Last year, strikers were, just weren't as valuable. Guys like Lukaku and Ronaldo. Even Ronaldo, who did score a fair few goals, like 18 or whatever in the league. I don't think he was.
Well end of the season too.
Kane was a valuable asset, to be fair, because of the assist. But Ronaldo, I don't think he lost out if you never put him in your team last season.
That's true. Next season's gonna be good. Kane, Ronaldo. If Lukaku stays and gets in the mix, Nunes for Liverpool, Haaland.
Well, Haaland's gonna be the one. He's definitely gonna get goals. It'd be interesting to see what he comes in at price wise.
What do you guys think for Haaland?
10 million.
Really?
More.
I mean, Lukaku
came in at like 11.5.
But he had Premier League experience, though, right?
Which is the thing. So, do you reckon they take that into account?
I don't think they just balls it. They're like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Here's a number.
What number do you think Haaland would be a 100%? He has to be in my team. Like, if he comes in at 10,
I'll be honest, I don't think there's many numbers where I don't put him in.
Really?
I think he's what I think. I don't know. Maybe by week 1 I'd have gone with the herd. I won't brave it. But
I think pre-season.
I don't know if I go for Salah. I don't know if I. Maybe I might wait it out for a few weeks. If he's still Salah that we all know, then maybe I'll come back with my tail between my legs. But
I guess it will depend where he'll be listed as, because we've heard rumors that some of them will move, but I don't know what the criteria is to move.
The difficulty is if you just move them to forwards, you're going to have a massive amount of forwards and not enough midfielders. For me, I think they need to split up the midfielder category. Yeah. And I think more defensive midfielders or midfielders that would be put in that category should get like half clean sheet points rather than just the 1 point clean sheet. Give them more, incentivize people to put those guys in the team, as well as and then have separate categories for defensive, attacking, and then a forward as out and out forward like they do at the moment.
So what? Is that 2 defensive midfielders everyone has to pick? Is that what you would do?
I don't know. Or maybe you have to have at least one. You know, you have to field at least one, maybe 2 or 3 attacking, depending on
maybe it might just be like instead of having like a 4-4-2 or 4-5-1, you could have like a 4-2-3-1, 4-1, like 4-1-4-1, whatever. Basically, FIFA, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
4-3-3.
That's a good idea.
Because it is definitely the FPL sort of model is definitely modeled on the 4-4-2, the classic 4-4-2, and for like the first sort of 10, 15 years of its existence, they didn't really need to worry about these sort of attacking midfield. They were still midfielders for the most part. Even guys like Lampard, all right, he'd get a lot of goals, but he's still a midfielder. No, you never think of him as a forward.
Yeah, but these wingers are inside forwards. They're pretty much
Yeah.
the strikers of the team.
Yeah, and I mean Salah has it's not even like Salah's just sort of morphed into a forward. Literally, as soon as he joined Liverpool, he was
Highest.
the goal scoring. Like Firmino was a striker who essentially operated as a attacking midfielder
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to allow these inside forwards to get on the end of things. So yeah, they need to find a way to reclassify those guys, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't think they'll do drastic changes next season. I think they just want
Hmm.
to reclassify
No,
some
I think
players. But I
there'd
think
be a lot more noise about it if they were to do something. Like we'd have heard sort of, or they'd have put out some posts about
yeah,
it or something.
they'll put like feelers out
Yeah.
and there'll be uproar.
It's
I
got
don't
to be
know.
done. It's got to be done.
I feel like anything to make it like more interesting is better in my eyes. But I
Yeah.
guess it's more about like, is the game confusing? Like, is it easily accessible to people?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
all that kind of stuff you have to
ultimately,
worry about.
the one thing is ultimately everyone is playing by the same, operating under the same rules. So if Salah's a midfielder for one place, a midfielder for everyone kind of thing. So I guess
Mhm.
it's not urgent in the sense of playing the game, but I just think, you know, aesthetically and the way we think about the game, it's definitely something that needs to be considered.
That's a good point JC brings up because accessible to the game's growing massively now. These are additional rules. If they were to make it fair for us, the more like, let's say we're not hardcore, but we've been loyal fans. It's the new fans that they're probably going to be looking to. They don't want to disrupt them.
Yeah, well, it's true because even I think a few years ago when they brought in the chips, it was a bit of a like there was a lot of people that traditionally played it that weren't really a fan of it. They thought it was a bit of a novelty kind of thing, but it's a crucial part of the game now, and we all have accepted it.
Mhm.
By
So
rote.
yeah,
But I feel like the chips are good because they make you think about the game in a different way, right?
yeah, I
It
got
adds an extra layer.
any way you can add an extra element without it descending into just, you know, a bit of a gimmick and things like that are
Exactly.
always good. That's where you always got to tread that line, I think.
So next season, what is going to be your general plan for attack? You gonna go same as this season?
It's weird because each year you get a different sort of style. Like I don't ever remember being so focused on my defense as I was last season.
Sure.
Like, you know, once upon a time, defensively it was bare minimum.
Yeah.
4.5, 4.5, 4.5, load up on attack because they're going to get you the points. But attackers obviously still get points a lot easier for a lot of teams, but you've really got to find that balance now. You can't operate without any of these like top end defensive players.
Also with the 5 sub rule, pep roulette's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting with the 5 subs.
I just can imagine like Mahrez 59 minute. That's what's going to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin De Bruyne 58 minute. Thanks.
Clean
And like
did the whole thing with clean sheets, 60 minutes for a clean sheet. That's going to throw a spanner in the works. These 5 subs. I know defenders don't get taken off as regularly, but like wingbacks do, fullbacks do. So do you sort of give half clean sheet points maybe for like incomplete games, or there's a lot of things to consider.
There's bonus
with
points
that.
as well because the longer you're on the pitch, or you accumulate more points, BPS.
Yeah, bonus points per sort of maybe minute or something like that.
So yeah, that's our overview of the glorious game that is FPL, the vixen to my heart. And now we wait till next season because I think it's going to be with the World Cup, 5 subs, all these heavy hitters coming in. It's just gonna be more pain.
It's gonna be difficult. I struggle enough when there's too many variables. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's gonna be all about those variables next season, definitely.
I think the one thing I like to remember is like, as much as we love FPL, it is just a game. And
Oh
it
yeah, like
needs to be
I can't operate in that mindset where I'm just watching my FPL players all weekend. Like, oh no, I can't enjoy the game that way. I
yeah.
often I just try to forget what my fantasy team is, and I just
Mhm.
watch the weekend and I check it afterwards, kind of thing.
Yeah. If anything, it makes me more excited for other teams other than United playing.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
gives me a reason to watch other football.
yeah,
That's a good
definitely.
it's a double-edged sword because it sort of makes you more attuned to all these players that you probably wouldn't even care about, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
outside, it's just consuming the soul.
Yeah, that's
But
true. That's true.
but yep. Thanks for everyone for listening. If you got this far, please check out Fanalytics, give us a like, subscribe, and check out us next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.